21-year-old son, Harris, sent instructions to dig up his mother's remains and post a picture of her grave. Furthermore, discussions about it have persisted on the internet ever since. Now that you are aware of 50 Cent's entire story, let's discuss how this all started and why this situation is so special. Along with his late mother, let's move on to You Have to Give Back. Taz. Beginning of this feud, if you understand why King Harris' comments on 50 Cent's mother were caught on camera. At first glance, this beef is not complicated. The first is verses. Due to the circumstances surrounding their potential and the long-rumored verse, T revealed that 50 Cent match is no longer respected. T described the game that, in his view, ought to have happened in a video that Gilly the Kid, co-host, shared a video from a future $1 million worth of game show on social media. Now, just in case's verse was a stage where two musicians would perform their catalogs side by side. In case you didn't know, both Throughout and It became a cultural event following the pandemic. As two legends traded blows, onlookers would watch. T also asserts that he and 50 Cent had decided to collaborate. T stated that the primary objective was to honor each other's catalog. Listen, Quada and I discussed this. I simply don't call him at random. This is not a sudden development. Together, we were touring Los Angeles to sell performances. Therefore, this was not a situation in which T randomly selected 50 people and 50 were unaware of what was happening. Tip says they had discussed it. Somehow, they had been working together. Together, they had given a performance in Los Angeles. T then claims that he clarified that he had discussed the idea with 50 years earlier. According to the Atlanta rapper, the artist decided on a dial that T would initially talk about. The idea in public before the age of 50 would respond. However, he claims that Fifth was confused when T did raise the possibility of a virus. Consider reaching a confidential arrangement. They suggest that you go ahead and proclaim it first. Then they pretend they don't understand you when you introduce the topic. T claims that this is what transpired, which explains his dissatisfaction. He spoke harshly against 50 Cent. The two reportedly had a falling out after an unacknowledged altercation and indicated they didn't want to be on stage with him. I have no respect for him. Those aren't light words, Tip said, adding that when he says he doesn't respect someone, he means it. Only one of us is a rat in real life. Therefore, you're playing on my name. T went even further with his own response. I have your documents, as you know. My transcript is also available online. Your explanations are meaningless. Get your ass in the box and stop living in fear. You're a kind son. I don't respect you anymore. Consequently, T went there. 50 soft, he called. He said he had proof. He referred to 50 as a rat. In hip-hop, calling someone a rat is among the worst things you can do. T said this in public as well. He put it in writing. He uploaded it to the remarks. Everything started to spiral out of control at this moment. Everything started when 50 T accused him of staying away from a fight they had discussed. Instead, 50 chose to participate in social media trolling, of locking it in, sharing jokes and memes, but never getting into the ring. Additionally, this is 50 Cent's finest work. If you have followed 50's career at all, you are aware that he doesn't respond. It doesn't immediately record a trash track when people meet, doesn't use Instagram to shout live. 50 is a troll. He disseminates memes. He makes jokes in order to become a punchline for him. And he gave T exactly that. However, one post in particular was crucial. 50 Cent warned T not to use Tay's name after he shared a post that included a photo of his wife, Tiny Harris. The post immediately caught the attention of internet users, and Tay's son, King Harris, promptly replied. This was established by the image, the entire thing in a different direction. It's what turned this into a family enterprise and elevated it above the standard rap quarrel. At that moment, King Harris entered the conversation, adding a romantic partner in addition to someone's mother or wife. The lowest of all is when two men argue verbally. But that's exactly what 50 Cent did. And 21-year-old King Harris Tay and Tiny's son is now berating him for it. On February 22nd, Sunday, the 50-year-old tycoon shared a negative portrayal of Tiny in the midst of his intensifying online conflict with T, which led the aspiring rapper to launch a vulgar and predatory tirade on his stories on Instagram. Kong Harris is more than just a stranger getting embroiled in a conflict. Kong is the eldest of T and Tiny's 3 children, including their 9-year-old son and 17-year-old son, Major Falant. Diana Harris's daughter, Aries. He is their first child together and has been well known since he was a young child. He spent his childhood watching reality TV with his family. He has been creating his own rap for he/she profession. And he has made it clear time and time again that he is not someone to play around with when it comes to his family. Thus, King didn't wait for 50 to post the Tiny photo. The picture's caption would read, "I keep telling you not to mention my name. OK. Prepared for combat and all set to get sloppy. Where your mother makes remarks." King came first. Would say in reaction to 50's Tiny Harris-themed post. King immediately asked about his mother in the space for comments at 50 dots. Then he moved on to Instagram stories. Above the King, Harris used social media over the weekend to denounce 50 Cent for making fun of his mother, Tiny, by sharing a derogatory picture of her on Instagram. In response, Harris made a lengthy video tirade about 50's late mother, Sabrina Jackson. "It was an outburst," said King. "No one was raised. How do you ask?" "That's not how I was raised," he remarked. "I don't go and I'm not visiting my mom." King's outburst was largely unrestrained. King went on to say something that went going viral online. He told 50 to share a picture of his mother and unearth her remains. He said that multiple times. Directed 50 people to go and lay flowers on her grave. Tiny is a legend, he said, referring to her Grammy Awards and her work with Escape. But he didn't stop there. Then King Harris shared a picture of a cemetery on Instagram with a message, "This is where your mother is. Sabrina Jackson's name, you good, ha. And dig up your mama," were added to the tail dot, which is a picture of an actual grave. Millions of people were able to examine the headstone, which contains the name of a real woman who passed away. King shared a video of 50 Cent in court during a case when he was charged with trampling on property of someone. An image of a graveyard, including 50 Cent's grandmother's and mother's names. Allegedly assaulting 3 ladies during a performance, as well as placing a photo of one of the rapper's sons on his lap. As a result, King didn't just bring up 50's mother. He found a tomb, or the place where he got the photos, and he got the actual tombstone. He promised that he fully entered, accompanied by court video. Many of the onlookers saw this as their cue, and some of them yelled, "Hold on, that's too far." It's crucial to note that the 50 was the one who started this. He uploaded Tiny's picture and was creating mock others. But the question on the internet was whether King went too far, because there's a difference between writing a disparaging picture of a living person while talking about the potential for finding a mother who has passed away stuff. And that distinction was what made this event so significant. To understand why King Harris's comments were so impactful, you must understand who Sabrina Jackson was and what her death meant to 50 Cent. Mention of a parent who has passed away is not just a theoretical idea. This is a real tragic tale. Curtis Jackson, better known as 50 Cent, had a challenging childhood. Born on July 6, 1975, to 15-year-old single mother Sabrina Jackson. He was raised in Fit's early years would be challenging because of a drug ride in a Queens, New York neighborhood. Even before her baby was born, Sabrina had decided to pursue a career in drug dealing in order to make ends meet. Sabrina Jackson was a teenager when she gave birth to Curtis. She was raising him alone in Queens, South Jamaica, at the age of 15. And their neighborhood presented difficulties. As a young mother, Sabrina Jackson had to deal with the peak of the crack era. Support her child. She also said in an interview with Spin that she didn't associate poverty with Burger King, were practical choices. And she took care of him by doing what she thought was required. That statement now gives the details you need about Sabrina's life. She didn't want 2 freebies. Since she didn't want to work for minimum wage, She exploited an opportunity to make money on the streets, and she was very good at it. To make ends meet, Sabrina sold illegal substances on Old South Road, Queens, South Jamaica. She became well known for her illicit enterprise. In the 1950s, Sabrina wasn't just a casual participant. Mom was dreaded on the streets. She was well known and played a part in the community despite the fact that few women worked in her field. She was surrounded by wealthy and powerful people, and they were afraid of her. In an interview with The Guardian, 50 Cent said, "The only people I saw coming were those that had the cars, the jewelry, the lifestyle. It was all influenced by my mother's environment. They owned expensive jewelry, Cadillacs, and everything that stood for financial self-sufficiency." That's how 50 Cent initially thought Sabrina's behaviors were rich. Additionally, for a small child who doesn't have a father who was a role model for achievement. But there was more to Sabrina Jackson. She was tough and both my mother and father. I was therefore unsure of when it was okay to be emotional and when it wasn't. According to 50 Cent, a single parent, his mother was both of his parents. She was the nurturer as well as the disciplinarian. He became the guy he is today because of her encouragement to stop crying and to become tougher. Next, everything changed in 1983. According to the authorities, Sabrina Jackson was drugged and rendered unconscious in her apartment before lighting it on fire. She did not pass away from natural causes. And her demise in there was an alleged murder in 1983. 50 claimed someone added something to her drink and switched on the gas. An accident claimed her life. After that, whenever something went wrong, I would think, if my mother were here, he went on, it wouldn't be like that. His mother was murdered. Someone had drugged her drink. They turned on the gas. Then they turned to leave. Her murderer is still unidentified, and despite the suspicious circumstances, no arrests were made. For more than 40 years, 50 Cent has had to cope with the fact that the matter is still unresolved, and no one has ever been charged or arrested. No one has ever been held accountable for the murder of his mother when he was 8 years old. 50 was only 8 years old at the time, and his life was significantly impacted by the catastrophe. In interviews throughout the years, he has talked about how he handled with a tour instead of 50 Cent disclosing the major problem that his entire public character is built around being tough and careless, and the troll who is emotionally indifferent. But when it comes to his mother, that facade constantly breaks down. I guess the shock is the best way to describe how I felt when my mother died. I didn't understand. A single parent becomes your guardian for the rest of your life. In the event that you have two parents, it's awful to lose one. However, if you just have one, that person is everything. Your instructor, your friend, your guardian, your provider, and your disciplinarian. Initially in denial, 50 Cent told Oprah Winfrey that when his grandma remarked, "She's not coming back," is gone, he had trouble understanding what she meant. You have nothing. He said he was 8 years old, yet he couldn't understand it. 50 would tell himself that his mother was still with him, and that it didn't matter when someone informed him that death was inevitable. He would hear his grandmother tell him that she would never return. "Yeah, she is," he would reply. That toddler is stunned and unable to understand what has just, "I don't think I truly coped with it in the beginning." What happened to his world? "I wasn't fully understanding at the moment because I lost," Vi said in a Larry King interview. "My mother when I was 8 years old." The issue is that Vi is quite knowledgeable, that he didn't go to counseling and never dealt with his mother's death in a healthy way. He ventured out into the streets, keeping his feelings to himself. Cordy's moved in with his grandparents, but with her passing, his future was irreversibly altered by his mother's passing. When Jackson was 12 years old, he began selling narcotics by bringing cash and guns to school, which led to his grandparents to think he participated in extracurricular activities. By the time he was 12, 50 was doing exactly what he had guns on him, was a drug thief, and his mother had done it. He was homeless, and the void left in his life by Sabrina's murder was the impetus behind it all. Jackson, a grandmother in her 50s, stepped in and encouraged him. Revealed in the VH1 documentary 50 Cent, The Origin of Me. that his grandmother had officially adopted him when he was a child. Boulahar raised 50 as if he were her own son as a result, and he would always be appreciative. However, there were challenges in spite of his grandma's love. I moved in with my grandmother and my Aunt Sylvia. According to 50, abhorred my presence there when some of my mother's 8 siblings remained, as she had been the infant and then it was me. My grandma would gaze at me, say nothing for a few seconds, and then say, "Come on, here, sweetheart." Thus, even at this one place that was meant to be tense and angry existed because his grandma was the only person who gave him a sense of belonging, and someone did not want him there. So when others bring up 50, not only are they bringing up his name, Mother, but they are also discussing his entire childhood, the murder that shaped his life, and the worst thing that has ever occurred to him. 50 created the television series Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, which is based in part on his early years, and he has been open about carrying it about. 50 brought up his mother when talking about his part in parenting Conan at one point. "I was pushed around a lot at the park, but my mother made me more afraid than anyone else. Was passed by because I couldn't leave her. She was everything to me as a single mother at the time. She was everything," 50 says, and her killer took her away from him when he was 8 years old. Was never caught. Now think about 50, who was told by King Harris to unearth his mother, who had passed away. It's more than simply a CD. Go plant flowers on her grave and upload a picture of her gravestone. Everyone who is familiar with 50 Cent's tale is aware that it is touching his most delicate spot. The internet also acknowledged this. Videos of 50 crying during earlier interviews about his mother started to go viral again. Videos of 50 discussing his inability to cope with his loss with Larry King, and 50 discussing, that. And many people watched them with King Harris. Oprah talked about not understanding and mortality as a child. What did 50 Cent do after all of that? How did the largest hip-hop artist Fif shared a photo of Pepe, the troll, in response to a 21-year-old talking about the prospect of finding his mother? On Sunday, February 22nd, Frog posted to his consistently busy Instagram, and followers quickly jumped in the comments with their own. However, it was clear that the off-thresh screeder of Giano Television and Film didn't have to be exact when he didn't give a specific name. The post's intended audience, 0.50, didn't have much to say when it was followed up with a lively "The Frog meme was the Frog update" with a straightforward message, "Lol. He is merely a meme with a 3-letter caption." There is no video response, no long tirade, and no back and forth in the comments. And that comment was more hurtful to some people than anything King Harris has said since. The question is whether or not 50 gave King the satisfaction of knowing he had reached him. This is due of 50 Sanhazi's tears and conversations about his mother, where he has sat across from Oprah and struggled to articulate his emotions. He has admitted to Larry King that he couldn't handle the loss. And now a 21-year-old is pleading with him to locate her using a photo of Pepe the Frog and the words "lol." 50C took advantage of the out-of-pocket post as well. His notion that the figure is twinning with King was ridiculed by others. Then 50 Cent went one step further, replying on Instagram with an image of a frog's face and the words "lol." 50 doubled down after sharing a video of 2 streamers disparaging Tiny's appearance and utilizing a frog meme to connect King to the frog, with a video of 2 podcasters making fun of Tiny's likeness to her in King 4. The Many Men Menace made a comeback. He uploaded another video of podcasters mocking Tiny and King and then commented, "May God bless if my wife looked like that." One of the hosts said, "I don't know if that's a wrestler," drawing a comparison between Tiny and WWE in response. Icon in response, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. T brought up his conflict with 50 Cent in the studio. TMZ was the first to hear the diss track. T isn't being nice. The new dispatcher is ranked 50A5, effectively calling him a snitch and painting him as a tough guy on the keyboard, but not in real life. Then things go really hot. It turns out that your name is in him and that he has paperwork from Nina in prison. That's not light shade. That's nuclear. What makes the whole thing so significant is that it's a bombshell claim that goes straight after the 50s gangster brand. A frog was posted by 50/50ths. King chose the personal insults, whereas T chose the diss track, and the Harris family went all in 50. Cent is a man who was 8 years old when his mother was murdered. He has talked about how the event affected him, shed tears in public, and developed TV shows based on it. Claimed that no matter how much he writes about memes, how much trolling he performs, or how he starts a lot of beefs. When King Harris gave 50 the order to find Sabrina Jackson, he was clutching for the one thing that 50 cannot joke about. 50's low response doesn't mean it didn't hurt. Rather, it shows that he adhered to according to his mother's orders. Why are you crying over there? 50 got up, posted a picture of a frog and remarked, "Lol," before continuing to walk. Lol, before continuing to walk. For over 40 years, 50 Cent and his mother Sabrina Jackson have been discussed in hip-hop. Recently, in a video, King T and Tiny's 21-year-old son, Harris, sent 50 Cent instructions to dig up his mother's remains and post a picture of her grave.